welcome everyone to 3 Count Commentaries Summerslam Part 1 review, Saturday, August the 2nd. Okay, so this show was aggressively mid, I must say. Not a lot happening, a little too much filler, and not much. Again, these shows should feel big. This one, not really till the end did I get a feeling that this was, a huge WWE show. But we're going to go through the show, obviously. Let's go through the main event first. This is what we do for pay-per-views. We go to the main event first. The main event of the evening was Gunther versus CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. It was easily the match of the night. One of the problems I had with this match, and there were two. One, the match felt like it was too long. And two, the pace was kind of slow. But both of those things actually work in the match's favor, as it was one of the matches on the show that didn't feel rushed. There's matches earlier in the card where it felt like it could have taken more time, but they were rushed. Here, it felt like, okay, they gave them more than enough time to let everything breathe. We started with a Summer of Punk vignette from 2005, then 2011, and 2025 with a question mark, kind of. The entire match, well, the opening section of the match, was Gunther trying to chop Punk, and Punk either avoiding the chops or blocking the chops. Now, Gunther was still landing them to the back, to the legs, basically working around what Punk was trying to do. It was slow-paced, stiff work, smart work, too, from Gunther. And Punk was doing a good job of keeping himself in it, especially in the middle parts, where he didn't get a lot of offense, where he was doing a whole lot of selling. He kept himself in it. He was, there was a section of the match where Gunther was standing strong and Punk was pretty beat up, and he was basically demanding that Punk fight back, and Punk was chopping and punching and kicking, and ultimately it wasn't enough. He would get chopped in the throat or something like that. So that's classic pro wrestling psychology. You let the babyface fight back and then you cut him off. It's really that simple. It's not difficult at all. Punk does a reversal of one of Gunther's elite frogs into a atomic drop. He goes for a sharpshooter. Gunther kicks off. He gets Punk down. Then he puts Punk in the sharpshooter. Punk then counters that sharpshooter with his own sharpshooter, which gets Gunther to the ropes, which I like that spot. That was pretty good. Outside the ring, Gunther is extremely cocky, dominant, kicking Punk in the face, shoving him all over the place. He starts, Punk is fighting back, but less and less over time. This leads to one of the GTS teases, which got the crowd really up. And it was countered into a powerbomb by Gunther. Then they end up outside the ring as Gunther steps on Punk's face in the corner, and Gunther climbs the announce desk. Punk walks up behind Gunther, yanks his legs from underneath him. Gunther goes face first into the announce desk. He comes up bleeding. And I'm like, that was, whoa, okay. So we doing that now. We got Gunther bleeding, all right. It added a whole new element to the match, and now Punk is back in it, because now Gunther is bleeding, blood is in his eyes. Punk hits the GTS to Gunther, but Gunther doesn't even go down. He kind of is out on his feet. Punk does a second GTS for the pinfall victory. CM Punk wins the World Heavyweight Championship. I have to tell you, the match itself was very good. It was a really good match. It might get overrated by some. It might get underrated by some. I could see that there's going to be a lot of people who are going to think the pace was too slow. And I actually agree with those people. But I think the work itself is just classic pro wrestling stuff. They didn't overdo anything. Maybe there was too many power bombs. There were 3 power bombs in the match. And that's minimal, in terms of the things that you could complain about. There being too many of one word of one move is It's like, so what? Punk not having a whole lot of offense in the match. He had some pretty good hope spots, and I think the cutoffs were pretty good as well. But he did a really good job of absorbing damage, making Gunther look strong. And this match told the really good story of Gunther being aggressively cocky. And that's the reason why he lost. He lost not because CM Punk was a better wrestler. He lost because he got so full of himself as the match continued that he dropped his guard and CM Punk took advantage. It's a great story. Made a lot more sense than when he lost the title to Jey Uso. I can tell you that much. Again, Gunther is not harmed by this at all. As Punk is on his knees with the championship, and he's trying to cry, trying to show some emotion. The moment he puts his arms up with the belt, Seth Rollins' theme song starts to play. Seth Rollins comes out. He is on crutches. He tells Punk, hold it while you can. And then he turns around, pauses for a second, drops the crutches. The crowd absolutely explodes. We don't get to see what Punk's reaction to this was, because Rollins runs to the ring carrying the briefcase. They scrap a little bit before Rollins gets the advantage. Rollins then hits Punk with the briefcase again and again and again, then catches in the briefcase, runs across the ring, stomps CM Punk, pins him 1, 2, 3. Seth Rollins is now the World Heavyweight Champion. I feel like I called Triple H's bluff on doing this. I did not believe that Seth Rollins was really hurt. I didn't believe it. And the reason I didn't believe it is because there was not a lot of details on Seth Rollins' injury. But it was a good work anyway, because a lot of people bought into it. And it sets up this scene perfectly because Punk wasn't expecting it. Also made a lot of sense that if it was going to happen, people thought it was going to happen during the match, but instead it happened immediately afterwards. So, there was some goodness here. Now, clearly there's going to be a lot of people who are going to say, what's going on with this? Why would they do this? Well, the number one thing that jumps out at me is Seth Rollins dropped a match to LA Knight for no good reason in order to fake his knee injury. Somehow he knew CM Punk was going to get the title match at SummerSlam, and he was going to take advantage of that. But that doesn't make sense, considering there was no guarantee CM Punk was going to get that championship match at SummerSlam. It seems to me that it would have made more sense if Punk had won the King of the Ring and then Rollins faked this injury, because then it would have been Punk gets a championship match and he's going to get that title match and you can screw him out of this, and you would have known that before you wrestled LA Knight. So now the perfect alley-oop is for LA Knight to be the number one contender to fight Seth Rollins, because he pinned Seth Rollins at Saturday night's main event. Obviously, Rollins is going to be like, basically, I threw that match, I don't really care, and then he's going to beat LA Knight. So they're going to continue this Punk-Rollins feud. The question is, what did this do for Gunther? And what do we do with Gunther now? I said it, I think, a couple of months ago. A better usage of Gunther at this point is not as a solo heel, but he's probably better fit for the tag team division. Put him and Kaiser in the tag team division for a while. Let him do that for like a year. He could be a top guy in the tag team division. He's been a top guy in WWE for 2 straight years now. I think we've done enough when it comes to Gunther in establishing him. Let him run with Kaiser as a tag team for a little while. Until another main event spot opens up, because it looks like it's going to be Punk, Rollins, LA Knight, and then Sami Zayn for the rest of the year. At least that's what it looks like to me. So that means there's not a lot of room for Gunther as the top heel in the company, because he's not the top heel in the company anymore. Rollins is. So Gunther, unless you're going to turn him face, which is even stupider than maybe putting him in a tag team, people will say, that's dumb. Well, turning him babyface is even stupider. It's an even dumber move, and it's less likely to work. A tag team will actually work with Gunther and Kaiser if you let them work as a tag team. Of course, Kaiser is working as El Grande Americano, but, just put somebody else in the damn mask at this point. Obviously, like I said, the next move is Rollins. They're probably going to build up to Rollins and Punk. It'll be later this year. I don't know when Clash in Paris is. I don't know if it's late August or if it's in September. If it's in September, then that'll probably be LA Knight, Seth Rollins. And then in October or November, it'll probably be Punk and Rollins, maybe at Survivor Series. And then we'll be on the road to WrestleMania, where they're no doubt going to go with Sami Zayn. So Gunther's going to be, de-emphasized for a while. But at least he got the match with Punk, which is, he's been working with Punk all over Europe and stuff anyway. I can see them probably working more house show matches against each other. They may decide to do a Rollins-Gunther match, which I don't see why you would, because it'll just basically force the crowd to turn one of them face. I wouldn't do that personally. So, obviously, Punk is in the chase mode, the chase position. He doesn't need to be the world champion. I mean, Punk is solidified. So this was fine. Will Punk get the belt back? That's sort of the question. They could always have Punk win the title and then lose it back. But I think having Seth Rollins in a dominant heel faction at this point is the alley-oop to them putting over Sami Zayn. It seems to me like what Triple H is doing is he's trying to mirror the Yes movement, where he's going to have, Seth Rollins, Heyman, Braun Breaker, and Bronson Reed. They're going to be like the Authority, which was, unironically Randy Orton and Triple H and all of them. And then there's Daniel Bryan, the little indie wrestler that could. In this situation, clearly they're going to go with Sami Zayn. And I think it's obvious to everybody who watched this show that Sami Zayn is next up in terms of a huge push. All right, let's talk about the next match on the card. Jelly Roll and Randy Orton versus Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre. This match, the crowd was extremely hot for it. They were very much into this Jelly Roll thing. Logan Paul is a heat magnet. The crowd was chanting, "Fuck you, Logan." And they were getting censored. So it's WWE doing the censoring, not Netflix or USA. The match was mostly Jelly Roll selling, getting beat up. His punches did improve. Like, I saw his jabs in this match, and they weren't that bad. They weren't as bad as they were the last time I seen him throw a punch. But the most of the match was just Jelly Roll getting beat up and Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre getting heat. Then Logan Paul does the very dramatic frog splash through the announce desk, which was very well done. They even added the Drew McIntyre countdown to it. Logan Paul crashing 2 prime bottles together. Jelly Roll needs medical attention after this frog splash through the announce desk. He's being aided to the back. They didn't do a stretcher spot. Instead, they were walking him to the back. Randy was finally doing work in this match. He was getting beat up, taking suplexes and such. And Jelly Roll looks back and he's like, "No, I can't go out like that." So he comes back, gets a hot tag, takes forever to choke slam Logan Paul. I mean, the crowd was into it until he held Logan Paul there for 3 seconds. Probably like 10 seconds before he choke slammed him. And then he hit a black hole slam to Drew McIntyre. Ultimately, it wasn't enough. Claymore to Jelly Roll, followed by a frog splash from Logan Paul. And Logan Paul pins Jelly Roll to win the match. I gotta tell you, I didn't care about this, and I barely watched it. Look, there was nothing really on the line, and I was not invested in Jelly Roll. Clearly, Randy Orton just wanted an easy payday, so he didn't really do much. He came in, he sold a little bit. Sure, he hit an RKO. He may have done a couple of other things, but he didn't really do much of anything in this match. It was basically Logan Paul versus Jelly Roll. That's what it seemed like. And people are going to say Jelly Roll was really good, and he wasn't bad. He executed his stuff well, but I didn't really care to see this, and I really didn't care about it. And it's hard for me to give a passing grade to a match that I wasn't invested in. So I really didn't care, and so tough. I didn't care. Next, Women's World Championship. Jade Cargill versus Tiffany Stratton. Jade comes out wearing the Jamaican flag, version of her robe. It looked very cool. I can just hear all the FBAs and the ADOS screaming, "Tether!" at the screen. Absolutely losing their minds because Jade Cargill's not American. Well, I think she is American, but she comes from apparently Jamaican heritage. It doesn't really matter that much. Now, the match itself, I would say, was better than I expected it to be. It was mostly a collection of spots, but it was better than I expected it to be. And it was much shorter than it probably should have been. The match was 5-6 minutes, maybe. Clearly, the match got the time cut. I mean, I don't know if they were told early that the match was getting its time cut or what. But this clearly was these two girls trying to get all their stuff in as quickly as possible. There was some obvious rushing to the spots. There's some obvious see-through stuff going on there. Let's get into some of the things. Jade Cargill hit Jaded, and she pulled Tiffany Stratton's legs back, similar to what she did with Asuka, except for she pulled them back so far that Tiffany Stratton's legs got caught up in the ropes. So that was pretty much it. The second Jaded was countered via a roll-up. Now, this was an interesting counter because it was similar to the Bret Hart counter that he had pulled on Stone Cold Steve Austin at SummerSlam 1996. Okay, so it was like, the arms are hooked back, so Tiffany had kind of like put her foot and bounced off the rope so that Jade would go back. So it looked like Jade had given her a tiger suplex, except Jade's shoulders were down. The commentators did not put this over because they didn't recognize what was happening. Anyway, it was only a 2 count, but I thought that was pretty sweet. They ended up working their way into a third Jaded spot where they were actually on the ropes. Now, this one took forever to set up because it was clear Tiffany was being a little bit trepidatious up there with Jade. And they were going to do the Jaded from the second rope or from the top rope, one or the other. Tiffany ends up countering it to a sort of sunset flip kind of move. And immediately from there, she hits the PME 1, 2, 3. Tiffany Stratton beat Jade Cargill. And there was a lot of people on the internet very, very mad that Tiffany Stratton won. Look, I'm a fan of Tiffany Stratton, so I wasn't mad that she won. But I do agree with a lot of the people who thought, okay, it was time to give it to Jade. Because, like I said during my preview show, at some point, you need to actually try with Jade. You actually need to try to make some money off your investment. As of right now, they treat Jade like a developmental talent. They give her a little bit here, a little bit there, but never she's going to have to take the ball and run with it. I can tell you the previous administration would have forced Jade to be a champion by now, and it probably would have been either to her benefit or to her detriment. Either she would have been John Cena and Roman Reigns, where the pressure would have made her better and people would have appreciated it later, or she would have been Ryback. One or the other, okay? But at this point, they're not doing Jade any favors. They had her win the Queen of the Ring. She even beat Asuka, and that match was short too, but she won it. So that made a lot more sense. This match was shorter, probably shorter than the Queen of the Ring match, and then she lost. It's like, okay, and then she lost clean too. Like, so Tiffany didn't even cheat. So, I don't know. Like, the Jade Cargill thing, it's clear to me that Triple H probably regrets the signing of Jade Cargill because she looks great, but he's a work rate mark, and she's not a work rater. Okay, and it's clear to me that Jade Cargill is in the same position as LA Knight. It's in the same position as Karrion Kross. She's over. She looks amazing. The crowd likes her, but the booker doesn't think she's good enough to be the champion. So it's almost like Vern Gagne, you know? It's like, yeah, we know that the crowd likes you, and yeah, we hear them chanting for you and all this kind of stuff, but you're just not good enough in the ring. It's like that's the one part that does not fucking matter. Okay, like that is the one part of the business that does not fucking matter. It's like I don't think Jade has an ego problem in terms of she needs to be humbled, which it would make sense in that respect. But that's not even the problem here. It's just that Triple H values in-ring technicians more, and Tiffany Stratton is a good in-ring worker, even though she has not had an opportunity to really show that off. WrestleMania was probably the one time she really got a chance to show it off, and her and Charlotte did not work out at all. But again, Tiffany has had good matches in NXT. I don't know what's happening on the main roster where the matches maybe are getting their times cut. Maybe the producer she's working with doesn't really trust her. Look, she is green, obviously, and so is Jade. And they probably figured let's keep it short and sweet. I think for what it was fine. It wasn't bad. Like, it didn't suck, but it wasn't ideal, And I recognize this, that people are expecting higher level in-ring work now. With Tiffany, not just Tiffany, but Stephanie, Vaquer, Julia, Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Bianca Belair. People are now expecting every women's match to be of an upper level in the ring. And I just don't care about those sorts of things, I'm saying Tiffany Stratton is a fucking star. Jade Cargill is a fucking star. Let them be stars. Give them time to be stars. I don't see why we needed to have Jelly Roll's match be twice as long as this one. Outside of the fact that they might have killed each other if it was. So I'm actually okay that it was short. But it didn't really show off the feud. It didn't really show off either woman. It feels to me like whatever plan they had for Jade was thrown in the bin the moment they decided to give Naomi the Raw Championship title. They decided, okay, whatever we were going to do with Jade, we're throwing it in the garbage. And that's what it felt like to me, because I think obviously a couple of months ago, people was like, okay, Jade's going to win the title, and then Naomi's going to cash in and take the belt, and then they're going to continue their thing from there, and then maybe Bianca's going to get involved. But then they decided to give Naomi the Raw Championship. So now Jade still should have won this belt. And I figure, and I said this in my preview show, it would have been better if Jade would have turned heel to win this championship, or turned heel afterwards. But it seems like they want to do Tiffany Stratton versus Bianca Belair, because I think it was announced, I'm not sure if it was announced on the pre-show or maybe the kickoff show or something like that, that Bianca Belair will probably be medically cleared by this Friday. I don't know when the last time a finger injury required you to be gone for 4 months, but okay, like that's the sign of like something more serious. But if Bianca and Tiffany is going to be the plan in Paris, fine. But what do you do with Jade now? Now you've beat Jade, and are we still going to end up having Jade and Bianca, with maybe as Jade turning heel on Bianca? Which, that would have been great, but it would have been better if Jade was the champion. And we took our time getting there. But, okay, I'm more of a Bianca fan than Jade and Tiffany anyway. So, if it's going to get Bianca in the main event, I don't care. Next, Sami Zayn defeats Karrion Kross. This match was clearly a humiliation ritual. Clearly. Karrion Kross got a huge reaction. There were dueling chants through the early part of the match. The match was not great. It actually kind of sucked. It wasn't that bad where it's like the worst match in the world, But Karrion Kross's character, I don't know why he insists on doing this Sean O'Haire inspired gimmick. Because Sean O'Haire didn't get this shit over, so Karrion Kross is not going to be able to get it over. Sami Zayn is working very hard, but it's clear that he's the favorite in this match and in this circumstance. They did a storyline element where I actually appreciated it. Karrion Kross was goading Sami Zayn through, shit talking, bullying, to admit that he was right and that Sami Zayn is a shithead. Sami Zayn was getting more aggressive as the match goes on. The referee even has to pull Sami Zayn off of Karrion Kross as he kicked him in the head again and again and was being very aggressive. Then Scarlett puts the pipe to Sami Zayn's feet. There's a metal pipe at his feet, and she's like, go ahead and use it. Do what you want, And Sami Zayn picks up the pipe and he throws it away. At this point, Karrion Kross runs to the ring. He gets caught up, gets one of the shittiest over-the-head throws in the world, and basically has to stand there forever for the Helluva Kick, and he just gets pinned with one finish. This was embarrassing, okay? This was Karrion Kross losing a match like he was on WWF Superstars or Main Event or something like that. This was not good. It did not bode well for Karrion Kross's future in WWE. I was saying earlier how Sami Zayn is more than likely going to be one of the guys the company is building around for WrestleMania. This could have been a situation where they were preparing him for that. But Karrion Kross, man, the guy looks great. Guy has a connection with the audience, but no connection to the office. So, again, we got Carmelo Hayes, LA Knight, Austin Theory, Karrion Kross. They are not favorites of Triple H, so they're not going to get the spot. I mean, it is what it is, man. You can't argue with it. But it's all starting to look very suspicious because none of these guys are flabby and sick looking. Most of them are good wrestlers who can have good matches, but they just aren't favorites of Triple H, so they get kicked around and dogged all the time. But this was one of the more embarrassing matches that Karrion Kross has been involved in, because they even did the old tease spot where, show your true self. And not only did it not work, but it also didn't even distract Sami Zayn enough for them to win. It was completely and totally useless. Very, very pointless. Got to be a humiliation ritual. And actually, the more I thought about it, the more I think it's kind of a burial of the character. And then maybe they should just go in a different direction with Karrion Kross. Or maybe he's just not sticking around. Maybe he's leaving. I know LA Knight kind of teased that he might leave too. I mean, these guys are talented guys, over guys. There's no reason for you to treat them the way that you do. Anyway, the second match on the show, the Women's Tag Team Championships, Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair defeat Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez. This match was okay. It was an okay match. They did a spot where Alexa Bliss punched Charlotte Flair accidentally, but it ended up being a great sell job by Charlotte, where she teetered like an old oak tree and fell over. I thought that was pretty good. The crowd was into it, especially when Alexa Bliss saved Charlotte from the Pop Rocks finish. I thought that was pretty good. Raquel Rodriguez has been a completely different performer since Liv Morgan went down and Kevin Nash told her to work big. All of a sudden, Raquel just started locking in, and now she's back. There's no place for Raquel as a singles act. At least I don't think so. She's better off in the tag ranks. But she really has turned it around. I truly believe she's done a good job. But Alexa Bliss and Charlotte winning was obvious. They're the stars of this match. They're going to try to elevate the division. These belts and everything is always better when it's a horsewoman involved. I'd hate to put it that way. But if you really want something elevated in WWE, put it on a horsewoman. And now the tag team championships are on Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. Two people who've been getting pushed for 10 years. So it works out. They need to basically build a whole new tag team division, though, for the girls, because there really isn't that much in the way of a women's tag team division. They really need to put some work in on that. NXT does a good job with it. Not the main roster, though. So I expect Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair to have a pretty long run, because who is going to beat them for it? There are no women's tag teams anymore, except the team that just beat, and the Kabuki Warriors, who already lost. So this division is going to need a rebuilding. And now is the time to do it, because the summer is a very slow time. So if you got some women that aren't doing much of anything right now, it's good to form some teams, I guess. All right, the opening match. Jey Uso and Roman Reigns defeat Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. All right, they did the yeet during the opening part of the match, which was great. Music and all, even after they had started fighting. Roman overshot his jump. My good, he athletic as fuck. It is not his shoes, apparently. He jumped over everybody, barely got caught. He almost killed himself, almost hurt himself. Braun Breaker went for his leap off the ring apron onto the desk, when he does the clothesline spot. Jay missed, so he moved. And then he came back and did it again, like a running version on Roman. I thought that was pretty good. Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker did the Steiner's finisher, the top rope bulldog. Only got a 2 count. The Usos finished a 1D. Was done to Bronson Reed. That was only a 2 count. That was pretty sweet. Roman Reigns saved Jey Uso from a spear and actually took it for him, shoved him to the side. He sacrificed himself for his family. Bronson Reed gets speared in the Uso splash. Jey Uso pins Bronson Reed. This was a really good match. Great opener. Fantastic. Roman was in the air sipping VSOP by the time that boring ass Sami Zayn Karrion Kross match got in the ring. By the time they got in the ring, Roman was out of the shower and on his way to film Street Fighter. He's done for a while. He did all that he could do. And now I guess this part of the story is over. Unless Roman's going to pop up to fight with Seth Rollins. Which I hope not. I need to let Seth Rollins fall on his own. I have been groaning for a while now that the Shield debuted in 2012, and here it is 13 years later, and we still got Shield guys on top. Roman was on top for 5 or 6 years. Seth Rollins is on top now, and they just took the belt off Jon Moxley in AEW. This is absurd. I am particularly perturbed by the very aggressive pushes of Jon Moxley and Seth Rollins. I'm burned out on Seth Rollins, if we're being honest. I'm kind of over the Seth Rollins experiment. I know that he's a favorite of Triple H, which is why he gets so many chances, but I'm sick of it. I'm done with Seth Rollins. I've been done with Seth Rollins all year. The knee injury was an opportunity for him to go away, people to miss him, and for him to come back hopefully more over with a new style and all that sort of stuff. Now we find out there's nothing wrong with them. So that means we're back to ha 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 and people singing every week. God, it's going to fucking suck. It's going to be extremely bad. Really, really bad. Summerslam was an aggressive C+ or a B- show. The main event was good. Punk and Gunther, great match. And the opening tag team match was great. Other than that, though, the show was very just mid. Karrion Kross and Sami Zayn was a downer for not just work rate reasons, but also because the crowd wanted Karrion Kross to win, and he didn't win. And the crowd had kind of given up in the middle of the show, in the middle of the match. But everything else was pretty consistent in terms of crowd reaction and crowd engagement. So I give it a C+, B-. All right. Other than that, Alicia Taylor's hair. She's got more character in her hair than most people on the Collision roster. We're gonna wake up one day and Alicia Taylor's gonna have like a Hot Wheels track in the middle of her head or something like that. She's gonna have like Mount Rushmore, all in her head or something. I mean, she's more of a character than Bird Girl is. She's got more charisma in her hair than like 99% of the women on WWE's roster. Just insane that they let her walk around like that. But we're back with Seth Rollins on top. It's going to be a tough next, 6 months or so. We're about to be in for some very annoying episodes of Monday Night Raw. All right, I didn't make nachos because that meant I had to spend money. I did get shawarmas, however, they were cheaper, especially with DoorDash. I think the company was like 2 for the price of 1. So I got some shawarmas, and that really hit the spot. And I made a smoothie, strawberry, lemon, blueberry, cherry, with a little ice and a little kombucha. The kombucha really kicked me in the gut. Man, that was crazy. Anyway, what did you guys have? And did you enjoy the show? Let me know, and I'll talk to you later. Peace out.
Old non-aggression. Once that lesson sets in, you'll see a session. But you got an affection for no progression. Regression, the best don't